Great. We'll just start on the Q&A now. Lanre, are you there? Oh, great.
I'm here. And yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, I really liked how you ended with saying accessibility is not a project, it's a process. I've seen that in a lot of teams where it's seen, we're doing accessibility now, and then the door closes and it's hard to reopen it. So yeah, I really like that takeaway message. So it was really interesting and great to hear you talk about heuristic evaluation. For anyone that's unfamiliar with that method, can you briefly explain what it is and how it can help with inclusive design?
So heuristic evaluation is a user experience or UX principle that has been around for a while, and it's generally, considered as the rule of thumb for or best practices for user experience design. And so the same way for usability, or to ensure that your product is friendly, it's just up to standard of what is considered usable and a good product. The same way it applies to inclusive design, to apply certain principles that are being over time considered standard and seen as the, I would say, benchmark for what is good and what is not. And so for the usability heuristic evaluation, there's rule of thumb like error prevention. I think about 9 of them that are typically used to assess a product, like doing an audit for a product, to just on the surface understand where the issues are, and usually they are being rated, maybe 0 to 4 or 1 to 5, and depending on the severity, we determine what should be paid attention to. And so the same approach is now what you can bring into for inclusive design, whereby you look at accessibility heuristic evaluation, and we now base this off the 4 accessibility principles. For heuristic evaluation is based on the 9 heuristic principles, but here we're basing it off the 4 accessibility principle of perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. And so what the certain so this refers to this what we call WCAG, which is the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. And this guideline is really detailed, that it breaks it down, each principle, into success criteria. And so this success criteria is something that you can then use to assess a product or website to see, do they meet, does the website meet each of these requirements? And by going through that list, you're able to do a quick assessment of where you stand before even testing with users, right? So that is something that is very useful, especially in limited resource setting, where you might not have that budget to expose your product to users, or even you may not have the bandwidth or timeline, right? So that can be a quick assessment to be done to know where you stand your product design. And one thing I will say also is that when you're doing your heuristic evaluation, it's important to look at it from usability for people with disabilities. So we are not just sticking to compliance in the sense of testing it with the mindset of, does it pass or fail? But you are looking at it from the the same scale of severity scale of 1 to 4, or 0 to 4, 1 to 5, to see how easy is it for someone using screen reader to complete this task. How difficult is it for someone using this to come, and that will help you to be able to assess on how to make the experience better. You're muted. Okay.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you. That's really helpful. You also mentioned personas and journey maps at the discovery and research phase. How can we avoid creating research artifacts that oversimplify the diversity of abilities or disabilities?
Yeah, I like that question, because very easy, to create something that's pretty, look good and all that, but does it account, for the main pain points or concerns of certain disability? I think what I would say is that it's important that our artifact is research informed. I know a lot of times designers do come up with what they consider as like a provisional persona or journey map, such that they use secondary data to inform the persona or artifact, and they use that to quickly come up with rapid designs and all that. But for inclusive design, I highly recommend that you actually do research, like, because from what I said earlier on, the disability within even the community, there's diversity. And so when you want to use secondary research, there's a tendency that you might focus on a particular disability experience and neglect another, compared to if you actually speak with people. So for someone, and I'm going to just use this as an example, that is most likely a mobile user and uses voice over, the experience will be different from someone that uses voice over on Mac or on their laptop, right? So what can actually help to reduce the risk of oversimplifying it is conducting actual research and making sure that the research sample is diverse enough so that you are accounting for authentic, experience and not just based on assumption that you find from secondary data.
Yeah, that's really great to know. I think too, when I've been in teams that use personas, the personas are usually more of a communication tool as well. But once you actually start doing research with people, you never really look at them again. So I think that's the thing, right? Like once we're talking to real users, I think the tool becomes less useful unless you're continuing to develop and refine them. But I agree. I think, yeah, for them to be useful initially, they do need to be based on research. We had one question from someone in the audience. They would like to know more about gatekeepers and ways to build trust.
Yeah, gatekeeping is a very interesting topic, and it's something that's very common when you are doing research with vulnerable population. And so that same approach is what I'm bringing here, considering that people with disability have been wounded, have been hurt, have been, if it's right to say, abused by the society, right? There's so much level of people not being treated well. And so when they are invited to participate in research, there's high tendency of, being skeptical or not sure of how they will be treated, right? So going through gatekeepers helps a lot because they trust their gatekeepers. And I'll use an example. So Facebook group, I won't say most, but a good amount of people with disability belong to different Facebook community, Facebook groups, and they have admin or administrators. And so identifying who the administrator is, going through that person helps to win their trust, because they know that for this person to say that they should participate in your research, you have been vetted and be considered that their interest will be accounted for, or they wouldn't be mistreated, right? And there are other ways. Also, they are also recruiting firm that are doing good job, that could serve as gatekeepers. And so the same way we might use recruiting organization to recruit for participants for our UX research, the same way we should be considering recruiting firms that are specifically, for the community of people with disability, so that we have that balance, and that makes, in our research participant pool to participate in our research.
Yeah, and what do you do to make research more reciprocal? So how do you build that trust with people who are maybe a moderator on a channel, or someone who knows a lot of people that have disabilities? How do you make sure it's reciprocal for them?
Okay, yeah. So one thing is, even after you are able to get people to participate, it's important to check with them. What do they need? What we consider like reasonable accommodation for an employee with disability. The same way for a research participant with disability, you should understand their preferred way of communication. you should understand how long is too long for them, right? So if someone 15-minute session is ideal and they would like to take 5 minutes break before they continue the research, it's important you know how they want to interact. And so asking questions about their preference, how they want to communicate, how long session they will be comfortable with, and also understanding how they would like to be addressed. Some people like persons first or disability first, right? So just being authentic and learning, being very open to learn from people with disabilities is very important also. Like you are not positioning yourself as someone that is superior and privileged and trying to help. You are actually seeing them trying to help you. And so that sense of humility and willingness to learn and knowing that they are contributors, valid contributors, goes a long way in building trust with the community.
Great, thank you for that. I think that's all we have time for. So thank you so much for joining us and for sending us your talk. We really appreciate it. We have feedback forms for each participant or for each presenter. So I'm going to put that in the chat now so that people can give feedback for Lanre. And so we'll now have a break, but we do have a coffee session in around an hour and a half. So I'll post that link in Slack, or you can find the link through Eventbrite if you want to join that. So that's just a way for attendees to come and casually chat to one another. And if you can't join us for that, tomorrow's program will start with a workshop, how can we make design processes more inclusive? And so I will be posting if there are spots open for that on Slack as well. And then following the talks, following the workshop, we have more talks under the theme of community, and we'll hear from speakers who will be sharing their work in ensuring that often excluded communities are meaningfully included or involved in the design and research process. So yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed that there were a few questions that we might not be able to get to. So if these questions can be posted in Slack, yes, I can find time and just reply to them.
Oh, I don't see any questions. That's
odd. They are in the chat. They are not in the Q&A.
Oh, okay.
Have you
I
got
didn't see those.
For low fidelity prototype for digital service, one that hasn't coded in a way that we can include people who have disabilities? So yeah, if those questions can be added to the chat forum, the Slack forum rather, I can drop my response there.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. I think they're directly to you because I can't see them. So yeah, I can't see them unless there's a glitch. So yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, so if you don't mind, I'll just grab and copy them out, or whoever sent this question.
Or take a screenshot
if
maybe.
You can, yeah. Okay, awesome.
Great, thanks for catching those. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining, everyone. I'll just stay on to make sure Lanre has the questions, but yeah, see you later. Thank you.